Crescent makes a very reliable work knife. Recently I've seen knives that are heavier or larger getting knocked quite a bit. And I understand perhaps a lighter knife is nice in casual or everyday situations. I carry this Swerdig by Swisstech when I'm in dress clothes or casually. But when I am working, I strongly prefer a beefier knife. Doing duct work, I need, like this, I need a drop point to pierce through the ducting, or a similarly styled tip. But I also need a blade that's a bit stronger, a bit thicker, that can kind of take a beating. So far, Crescent Knives, they've kind of met my criteria of what I'm looking for. Recently, I found myself needing to change out and replace some duct board and flex ducting, and I didn't have my current carry knife for work on me, so I picked up this 350C by Crescent because it ticked most of those boxes. The 350C, it calls himself a harpooned blade. You can kind of see the shape there of the back of the spine. And that's compared to the drop point here of the 325A. Personally, I can't tell a difference with the point style when I'm using it and how I use it. You can kind of see that a little bit better there. They're shaped to a strong point. They pierce, to me, just the same. And I mean, I'm cutting through the insulation and the reflective coating and the ductwork all in one go. I'm stabbing through all layers, and I'm tearing it through, and I can't tell a difference in how it pierces through it. The 350 has this composite handle. It says that it uses that composite handle so it can reduce weight, and it comes in at 150 grams, and that's slightly more weight than the 325, which comes in at 145 grams. But this one is, as you can tell, a little bit longer of a knife. It's about a 1/4 inch longer, and it's got a little bit thicker of a spine. It's probably pretty hard to tell, but this is a little bit wider of a blade and a little bit wider of a handle as well. The Swerdig, in comparison, what I carry when I'm out and about, it weighs in at 81 grams. But, I mean, if you compare them, it's pretty tiny in comparison. And then, especially when you start looking at the spines are really thin, and the blade is also a lot thinner width-wise. So you got a lot more beefy of a knife with the 350 and the 325, which is, I mean, you're kind of comparing apples to oranges, but I'm just saying this is kind of why I prefer a larger knife to a lighter knife. And so this newer one, this 350, it boasts a stainless steel. It's a CR15, and so far I've put it through its paces, and it's stayed really sharp. I mean, well, sharp enough for what I use it for, at least. But I still prefer the D2 on the 325. It's been easy for me to sharpen. I've been wearing it for a couple years, and despite all the people who say that they don't like D2, I've never had it rust. I do oil it periodically, along with my Klein lineman pliers and along with my crescent wrench. But I mean, I still use it in wet conditions, and I've never had it rust. I used it today and it was snowing. I've used it in the rain. I've dropped it in puddle. It gets wet, but it's never had any rusts. The 350 here, it opens real smooth. It's a pretty nice opening and closing. It is a little bit harder to close one-handed. I find myself, it digs into my thumb right there in the closing it, and it might just need to wear down a little bit more. It's a little bit easier with two hands. It doesn't dig in at all. So, but this one, and it just might be because this one's older, the spring might be a little bit softer, but it just presses in and it shuts a little bit nicer. All in all, I still prefer this 325 with the aluminum scales, but both these knives, I think, even despite their weights and being a heavier knife, they've put up with some abuse, and they're still just as reliable as they were when I first got them. And historically, I've snapped four blades, and I've taken chips out of 2 more. So I've personally killed about 6 knives, and these ones have this one's lasted me a long time, but their construction's similar enough that I can't imagine this one having any issues that this one doesn't have. So just kind of some thoughts on them. I really do prefer a heavier knife when working. I prefer a lighter knife when being casual and just running around.